Hi. Morning. Hey. Ooh, road trip today, huh?
Yeah.
That's so nice.
I'm going up to the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, whoa, that's a long ride, yeah?
Yeah, I'm breaking it up a little bit, but
That's amazing.
yeah.
The two other women who live in my house, both of their daughters are currently living in the Upper Peninsula.
Oh,
like,
wow.
After COVID happened, they were like, oh, time to like go somewhere else, and they both went up there. And so recently, they both went up to visit them too. And I've never been, but I hear it's amazing.
Yeah, I haven't been either. I'm really excited. I'll definitely be posting some pictures. So.
Nice. I cannot wait to see. Have the best
Yay.
time.
Thank you. I'm glad to start
Bye.
the whole thing this way.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Awesome. Hi, everybody. Hello. So many faces. Awesome. All right, we'll just wait like another minute or so. Hey, everyone. For everybody to roll in here. I think it's going to be kind of a bigger class this morning. Nice rainy morning, perfect to just roll around on the floor, at least in my opinion. That's all I want to do on a rainy morning. If you're ready to settle yourself in, you're definitely welcome to. And we're going to start in a restorative bridge pose, which I think it's been my go-to like all summer. And maybe that's what you want to do here. If for some reason though you've got a little bit of low back discomfort, or the restorative bridge doesn't feel quite right in your body, you're welcome to start off in constructive rest. You can like curled up on your side or in Shavasana with a little something under your knees. And so just taking a few moments to really get settled in here. Maybe your body is ready and knows exactly what it wants. Maybe you need a moment to think about it. As you get settled in, if you plan on using your music, it'd be a good time to hit play on that. Welcome. Welcome. Okay, welcome to your practice. Welcome to practicing in community with each other. Into this cool morning. Good. If you're just rolling in, finding maybe a restorative bridge pose to begin with today. Restorative bridge to find a nice space through the front of the body. Good. Perfect. All right. And as you get yourself settled in, you just take notice of the state of things this morning. And we all know that in the world beyond us, the state of things is maybe a little dicey, right? It's not always easy to separate ourselves from what's going on in the world around us. But this is kind of our time to step away, right? We need this time. We need to give it to ourselves. Good. And so if you're feeling a little jangly from what's going on, that's totally fine. Give yourself the space just to be here however you are, and to kind of casually and lovingly observe yourself from a little bit of a distance if possible. Good. Taking the breaths that feel right to you this morning. Maybe if you're breathing a little bit rapidly, you can make an intention to slow things down a little bit. If you are breathing a little bit rough, or if your breath feels a little shaky, maybe just for now you can set an intention to kind of smooth it out a little bit. Okay, taking notice of the quality of your breath. Good. And I just wanted to read you a poem before we begin this morning, and before we start all the poses, I guess. It's called Sometimes, and it's by David White. And he wrote, "Sometimes if you move carefully through the forest, breathing like the old ones in the old stories, who could cross a shimmering bed of leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to trouble you with tiny but frightening requests, conceived out of nowhere, but in this place beginning to lead everywhere. Requests to stop what you are doing right now and to stop what you are becoming while you do it. Questions that can make or unmake a life. Questions that have patiently waited for you. Questions that have no right to go away." Good. And this brings up this whole idea of sort of embracing what's new and what is presented to us. In the context of our energetic bodies, this closely relates, or this idea closely relates to our stomach, the stomach meridian. And our stomach meridian is mostly located, it's completely located on the front of the body. And it's in both the top of the body, it goes from the top of the head all the way down to the foot. And located along the sides of our belly, the sides of our rib cage, up in our face, down into the front of the leg, running along the femur and down in between your lower leg bones and the top of the foot to the second toe. It's known as the Sea of Nourishment. And interestingly enough, when this meridian is blocked or things are off here, everything else is affected, like immediately. And all of our other organs are affected. All of our processes are affected. So for a little while here in your restorative bridge, you might take your hands and like your fingertips onto your belly. Okay, there's the midline, but just come out from the midline like an inch or an inch and a half and walk your fingers up and down the softness of your belly there. And you notice how that feels. Maybe it feels weird. You know, every time I do this, it's, you know, maybe a little bit tender. Okay, you might walk the fingertips up and down, or you might kind of like rake your fingers from the midline out to the sides, moving up and down the belly, giving yourself that tummy rub. Or maybe you just bring your attention there, and that's good enough. Good. Taking your deep breaths. We're going to be here for about 2 minutes more. If your knees have been bent this whole time, it might be nice to extend one or both of your legs out long here. Yeah. Good. If extending both legs out long just feels iffy, you can always do one leg at a time. Maybe 5 breaths on one side and 5 on the other. Good. And see if you can soften your knees wherever you are. Soften the feet, calves, the jaw. Good. And another 5 deep breaths. If you're taking sides, go ahead and switch it out. Yeah, and while you settle here, or while you take these final breaths here, I guess I should say, you might begin to think about a purpose for your practice. Okay, only you know what that is. Just like those inconvenient questions that pop up. They have no right to be ignored. You think about, what is your purpose this morning? Okay. And a big breath in. And a deep breath out. Yeah. So coming out of this, just take the block away and you'll know what to do. Sometimes like drawing the knees into the chest is like the automatic next move. Okay, maybe you just want to lie down in Shavasana for a little bit. Maybe it's a happy baby for like a good minute or so. Yeah, and feel free to take movement or to be still if stillness is what you really feel like you need this morning. Nice. And allowing your body to do a little bit of the talking. Letting yourself be receptive to what you hear. Great. And then let's extend those legs out nice and long on the mat. And we'll reach the arms out past the head. And let's take a banana pose. So banana's nice because, well, for a number of reasons, but it gets into those points that are all through the belly and through the side of the rib cage. Let's scoot the heels over to the right. And your shoulders in that direction too. And just know that if having your arms overhead is not exactly a comfortable thing, you can always bring them alongside you too. It's just about creating that curved shape between the shoulder and the ankle. Good, we'll settle in here for about 5 minutes or so. Good. As you breathe deeply and notice the left side of your belly and the left side of your rib cage moving, just take notice of that left hip. And if it feels a little bit lifted, see if you can apply some more weight into it. Maybe even rock over to the left side, just a touch, just to press that left sitting bone into the floor. Good. And another thought here. It might be nice to take like a figure 4 shape, crossing your right ankle on top of your left knee. You can keep that left leg exactly as it is and both of your glutes on the floor. Great, if that feels all right. If you get there and your right hip is just like, why are you doing this to me? Go ahead and extend that right leg out long again. Good. Let your jaw soften all over again. Good. 5 more deep breaths here. Good, and then start to bring yourself back through to the center and just find something that feels kind of neutral. Maybe it's some constructive rest. We're a little rocking of the knees side to side, and this is another opportunity to rub your belly. So taking your hands as wide as you can, really spreading through the fingers and setting your hands down just underneath your ribs and just above your pelvis and rocking your knees from side to side here. Yeah, maybe you want to pull the knees to the chest. There's really no wrong answer. Good. 3 more breaths here in the middle. Wonderful. And then we're just going to rock the knees over to the left and take a spinal twist. Good. And for a moment, I just want you to take your left hand and bring it up to like just underneath your collarbone. And you're gonna like kind of rub your breast a little bit and then just come down through the ribs and through the side of the belly, and then take your left hand into your right hip crease and just apply a little bit of pressure there. Doesn't have to be anything big. Good, and bring your attention now to the whole right side line of the body, between the shoulder and between the hip. Couple deep breaths. Yeah, good. And then from there, you can release the hand from the hip if you want to and just rearrange that left arm. And if you're noticing some weirdness in the lower back, bring something in between your knees. Yeah, a little extra support here. Let's stay for a while. And as you settle here for a little while, you might ask yourself what your relationship is with new information, new expectations, new events. Things that come into your life that represent some change. Do you generally welcome those things, or do you feel a little more fearful? And again, there's no wrong answer. There's no right way to be here. But I think that bit of awareness is really critical. How do we respond when we're faced with something new? Good. Taking another 10 deep breaths here in your twist. Notice the way the breath moves your ribs, moves your belly. Maybe even the way the breath moves your pelvis or your knees, shoulders. Good. Last couple breaths. Okay, and now come back through to the center. As you find the center, finding some movement or some stillness that feels appropriate. In the yin training I took recently, he refers to this period as the rebound or the echo of the pose that you were just in. And I think that during this time in between your poses, in between sides, that like really just listening to what your body is asking for is the key. Right, from here, go ahead and extend your legs out nice and long. Reach those arms out past your head and slide yourself into banana. Over to the left this time. Good. Yeah, and carefully and thoughtfully arranging your arms so that your shoulders feel like maybe a little something, but not so much that your hands are tingly or there's any pain in the shoulders. And maybe looking for a little more sensation down the side of the body, on the outside of the rib cage, the side of the belly. Good, and if you've been like clenching your guts, clenching your belly muscles, see if you can deepen your breath a little bit here and feel some movement there. If you've been kind of closing down that big breath, make it bigger. Hmm. Yeah, good. You can stay here for a bit, just like this, or if you would like to take that figure four situation, you could do that too. Yeah, maybe crossing your, I think, left ankle over the right knee. That sounds right. Good. And notice what happened to your jaw if you decided to take the figure four, and see if you can soften things a little bit. So a few points of our stomach meridian, 3 of the points run right along the jawline, one of them being right up here at your temporal mandibular joint, and then running down and towards your chin. It might be nice to open the mouth wide and wiggle the jaw around a little bit. Good. And then 2 of the points are located kind of on either side of the throat. So you might swallow and then relax the throat. Good. And then a few are located just underneath your eye, from right where your eye is, just to the corner of your lip. So let your cheek relax. And then finally, there's 1 point up on your hairline, the corner of your hairline. So soften your scalp a little bit, the muscles of the brow. Good. Another few deep breaths here. Good. All right, coming out of this one, it might be nice to pull the knees in towards the chest, or send your feet up towards the ceiling. Perhaps you want to take an active bridge pose here too. That's a really nice pose to activate this line, stomach meridian, because it gives us that big stretch through the front of the body. Good, through the quadriceps. Nice. Strengthens those knees. Just another few deep breaths, and then on your own time, you'll find the twist over to the other side, so your knees will drop over to the right this time. Yeah, and as the knees drop over to the right, that little wiggle with your shoulders to this side or that side. Good, and think about here, taking your your right hand to the side of the chest. Okay, and kind of spreading the fingers wide and taking this like raking motion down through like that place right underneath your collarbone and the side of your breast. Good. And down through the side of your belly. Yeah, and then you'll take that left hand and press it into your right hip crease. Press into the top of that right thigh. And take a few deep breaths and just notice that space through the side of the torso. And what it feels like there as you breathe. And eventually you can go ahead and just release that arm out to the side or wherever it wants to go. Yeah, something in between the knees if you need it or want it. Deep breaths into your twist. And again, soften your jaw, soften your cheeks, your eyes, your brow, and your ears. Good. The deepest breaths you've got. Let's take 15 more of them. Good. Last few deep breaths here in your twist. Good. And then we are gonna find a seat, but I want you to move like in the most yin-like slow way to get there. You might roll back onto your back, or maybe you want to roll over to your side. Good. It might take a little bit of time to get there. Maybe you want to rock along the spine. It might be nice to find something kind of boaty so that you can strengthen the belly muscles a little bit and bring some awareness to that part of your body. Okay, but we're going to come to sit up on our heels because the points for this meridian run down the quadriceps and the knees and down the front of your shin and the top of your foot. So sitting on your knees is not always like the world's most comfortable thing, especially if you've got, well, I mean, it depends on what your bones are shaped like. It depends on injuries, that kind of thing. You might want to sit up on a bunch of stuff. Today I'm going to take a block underneath my tailbone and sit up nice and tall. All right, we're going to massage our faces for a bit. I feel like this is just a weird time and we can't really get other people to do this for us. Not that, yeah, I do that regularly, but this bit of self-massage has always felt really nice to me. Okay, so when we're thinking of the stomach meridian, it starts here and then it goes down to here. And then it's over here and comes down to here. I'm just tracing it out for you, and then there's a point up here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with this point up here, which is kind of like in our hairline off to the sides, and then let's, with the index fingers, and let's take the thumbs into where your jaws meet, into the TMJ. All right, and close your eyes if that feels okay with you, and let your eyes soften, and just kind of notice what's happening here. If these parts of you feel a little tense or a little tender. Good. See if you can really let that lower jaw kind of melt away from the upper jaw. And we'll take like 5 breaths like this. And sometimes like little noises come out. Let them out if they're there. Yeah, one more deep breath, just like this. All right, and then why don't we release our thumbs from that area and just take all of our fingers, except our thumbs, up into this part, right? Just on either side of the skull. And give yourself a little head rub. Yeah. Again, noticing if it feels a little tender. Does this feel good? Does it feel awkward? Good. A couple more moments of this scalp massage. And just know while you're stimulating these points on your scalp, you're also stimulating the points on the top of your feet and through the knees. This is like a double whammy. Good. All right. And then we're going to take our hands just like this and place our, like we're going to yell, like, hey, over there. And then let's just take the hands and go like this through the sides of the face and then down the jaw. Good. So maybe like 10 times. All right. Hitting all these really nice stomach points. See if you can take your fingers to the place right underneath your eyes without actually poking yourself in the eye. Yeah, good. And see what the corners of your mouth are doing as you move here, as your hands move. Are they like clenching, or can you let them go too? And maybe 3 or 4 more sweeps here. Good, and then from here, let's just take our fingers and kind of draw them down the neck, right over here, right to just above your collarbones, and give yourself a little something here. Just like a little brief massage, the lower part of your thyroid gland. Good, and then we'll just take the hands and kind of press into the sides of the rib cage, the sides of your breasts. Yep, all the way down into your belly. And what we're going for here is just on either side of your midline. So kind of where we started. And just taking a moment to allow your hands to find your lap, palms facing up in this gesture of receptivity. So open to what is out there. Open maybe to what's new, to what's uncomfortable. Welcoming it. And just a few more deep breaths. Right. And then maybe it's time for a down dog. I feel like that could be a nice thing to do this morning. Yeah, and so your down dog might be really relaxed and kind of still. Maybe you're hanging out there for 10 breaths and not moving really. Maybe you don't want a down dog, you want some movement on hands and knees, and that's great too. Maybe you're up in your downward dog and you're thinking to yourself like, I've got all this energy. Let me use it somehow. And so there might be like a plank or a side plank or something in it for you this morning. Side planks are also kind of stimulating to the stomach meridian because they help us to activate the side of the body. Good. So really take your time and just kind of flow with what your body is asking for, what it's really in need of here. Good. Yeah, perfect. And this is like probably about as active as we're going to get today. Yeah, we're going to be pretty chill today. So yeah, if you've got a lot of yayas to get out, a few more breaths, get them out. Maybe it's even like a good time for a lion's breath if you need or want one, sticking your tongue way out, releasing through the jaw. Nice. And eventually we're going to curl up into child's pose. Right, knowing that there's no wrong way to practice child's pose. Your knees can be close, they can be really wide. If you can get them close, it might be nice because then you can actually set the points that are in the belly down on the points that are in the thighs. Maybe just know that wide knees are great too. It's all up to your hips. Good. Let your head settle down to the floor and maybe rock your forehead side to side. Good. Taking in a big breath. Feeling what that's like, letting it go. Feeling what that's like. And a little while back, maybe 5 minutes ago, I felt like I wanted to pull a tarot card because my deck was just sitting in front of me. I was like, oh, maybe now's the time. And I pulled out the Ace of Cups, which is actually really fitting. It's this card that reminds us that we have an inner voice that's important and that it is okay to trust this inner voice and let it lead the way. And this card is about observing what your gut reactions are to things, observing and then maybe even going with them. And it's about creating intimacy with yourself and with others too. So being open, being honest, getting close. So maybe just another few breaths here. And if you want to practice a gentle inversion, it might be nice to rock up right onto the top of your head. Taking your rabbit pose, your hips above your knees. Yeah, and to add in a little extra stomach meridian action, you might decide to interlace your fingers behind your back and press your knuckles up towards the ceiling because that gets into the sides of your rib cage a little bit, the sides of your chest. Good. Awesome. And then as we come out of our child's pose or our rabbit pose, we'll slither through onto our bellies. And this is where your strap might come in handy. If you need one to reach back for your foot, and go ahead and grab your strap. If you can reach your foot without the strap, then no worries. Good, and just start with whichever side you want. You're gonna reach your hand, the same hand back for the same foot. Okay, your chest can stay down on the floor. You might decide to prop yourself up with the other arm just to create a little extra space. And the added bonus of that one is that you kind of get that nice little stretch or tension through the lines, through the meridians on the front body. Good. Nice. Okay, so there is this point on the foot, stomach 42, that is the source point for this meridian. And it's close to the ankle, but not right on the ankle, just up the foot a little bit. So if you can kind of like reach around to that part of your foot, it might be nice. Yeah, grabbing a hold of the ankle too, maybe. There's a nice point there as well where the bones meet. Good. And so it's said that when you activate this source point, stomach 42, it helps to calm your spirit and harmonize your stomach organ and release some pain, physical, emotional, mental anguish. All of this can be kind of released in this way. And so we'll just take a few more deep breaths here. Notice how your knee feels, how your thigh feels, how your shoulder feels, and your jaw. Yeah, good. You'll know when it's time to get out of it. Once you feel like your shoulders had enough, go ahead and just release your hand from your foot. And any kind of movement that makes sense. It might be you rocking your lower legs from side to side, or you might want to press up into a sphinx. We're all going to go there eventually. Maybe you want to take a locust pose, just to strengthen through the back of the body a little bit. Good, yeah, nice. And as you come on out of that movement, we'll all lift up into Sphinx pose and perhaps even a seal if you're feeling ready for it. Pressing into the hands, really lifting those elbows. Good, maybe just 5 breaths or so here in your Sphinx or your seal. And you might decide to roll your head around a little bit. Create some softness through the jaw. Good, through those points that are kind of above your collarbones here, and the ends of your collarbones next to your throat. Good, again, sticking out that tongue if you need to or want to. Sometimes, yeah, when you approach something new, you have to like fake it till you make it, right? That spirit of fierceness. Good. Yeah, and then when you're ready to set yourself back down, go right ahead and reach back for the other foot and take that nice little quadriceps stretch. It's really funny because I'm starting to move away from thinking of yoga as this practice that's strictly for the physical body, our muscles, our bones, etc. And I mean, I think that we all practice yoga because of the energetic benefits, right? So thinking of this in a more subtle way. Maybe this isn't for the muscle exactly, but for the way that our energy flows through this channel that runs down the front of the leg. Good. And what happens when those channels become unblocked? The way we feel a little more clear, receptive. Good. Yeah, if you can reach for that point that's on your foot, just kind of south of your ankle a touch. Go ahead and wrap your hand around there. Yeah, a few more deep breaths. Yeah, go ahead and let it go if you haven't already, releasing that leg nice and long behind you. Let's tuck the toes underneath and pick those knees up and kind of firm up the fronts of the legs. Press back through those heels. Good. Nice. Just a thought that just came to me. This might be a nice time to practice something like a forearm plank. I don't know if you want to. I know I said that the down dog, etc., would be the most activation we'd find today. But when we're practicing things that are kind of like back bendy or front body opening, we need to remember that it's important to find some stability through the spine and some strength through the front of the body, right? It's not all about, you know, big, bold back bends. It's about stability too. Good. If you're in that forearm plank, cool. Eventually, we're all going to settle ourselves down into a sphinx though, and we're going to point our toes up towards the ceiling. Good, if that works in your body. Good, and you might decide to look up here too and kind of get a nice stretch through the underside of the jaw, through the throat. Good, maybe as you look up, you very gently rock your head from side to side. And that's if you don't have any C-spine issues. If your C-spine's feeling wacky, I don't know, don't do that. Just keep your head neutral. Good, yeah, and you might decide to lift even higher. Maybe you want to press into the hands, lift the elbows, and take this kind of like king cobra situation. Yeah. Good. Eventually we're going to set ourselves back into a child's pose or a down dog just to help relieve some of the weirdness that might have built up through that pose. Good. Finding space in the back of the body now. And letting your head hang down if you're in your down dog, or letting it really make contact with the ground if you're in your child's. And yeah, feeling this sense of intimacy with yourself, with your own needs. Sense of intimacy with your mind and all that passes through it. With your body. Good. All right, we're gonna settle back down onto our bellies. Nice. Yeah. So good to see everybody doing what they need to do here. And then we'll stretch our arms out into a T shape, palms facing down. And roll on over to your right side, keeping that right arm behind you somewhere. Now it might be straight back. Your hand might come a little bit closer to your hip, come at an angle to the body, more than a right angle, less than a right angle. And let's think about maybe taking that top arm or that left arm and wrapping it around you here too, if that works. And then tucking your left hand back behind, maybe even touching your sacrum. And a few thoughts for your lower body. The first of which is to support your lower back by bringing your knees in towards your chest and make this mostly about the upper body. But there's also the possibility of you maybe reaching back for your left foot with your left hand and kind of striking a balance here. And then that lower leg, your right leg, will kind of bend and arrange itself so that you feel balanced and not so wobbly here. Let your right leg do what it needs to do. Good, and yeah, it's awkward. This is an awkward shape. But maybe for a few moments, just sitting with that little bit of awkwardness and owning it, and maybe not running away from it. Good. Soften your jaw. Take 2 more breaths. Good. Right. Come on out of it. Roll yourself over to the other side. Good. Find that same type of shape over in the other direction. And I forgot to mention this on the other side, but if your head and neck feel like they're just kind of like weirdly hanging, place something underneath your head. Yeah. This arm might be really different. This shoulder might be really different. Okay, taking time to maybe wrap that right arm behind you for a few moments. Notice the side of the rib cage. And yeah, if you want to reach back for your right foot with your right hand, that's a thought. It's a thing you could do. Beautiful, everyone. And last couple breaths. Alrighty, and then from here, making your way back onto your belly. And into your final shape, whatever that might be. It might be you lying on your belly with a blanket roll underneath your low belly and the tops of the thighs. There are a few points located right there, so that might feel good. Or you could lie down on your belly and just take your hands and place them in your hip creases. That's the same kind of thing. Shavasana is nice, restorative bridge, or legs up the wall. Okay, at this point, all of you know what to do. You've all been practicing for a long time and pretty in tune with yourselves. Good. So just doing what you can to get comfortable. Making these last few minutes about your own sense of comfort, your own ability to settle, to be open, receptive, at peace in your body. Good. And again, this beautiful poem by David White. Sometimes if you move carefully through the forest, breathing like the ones in the old stories, who could cross a shimmering bed of leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to trouble you with tiny but frightening requests, conceived out of nowhere, but in this place beginning to lead everywhere. Requests to stop what you're doing right now and to stop what you're becoming while you do it. Questions that can make or unmake a life. Questions that have patiently waited for you. Questions that have no right to go away. And boy, that one always seems a little unsettling to me. A little bit like a shakeup. All of our biggest growth comes through these allowances of the shakeup, right? Not fighting it, but feeling it, flowing with it. Just taking a few more moments with yourself here in stillness. Go ahead and breathe a little bit more deeply. Breathing into this sacred vessel that is your own body. And you can move in any way that makes sense to you. Just do what you need to do. Eventually, why don't we all come to sit up, and no pressure if you don't want to turn on your camera, but if you do, maybe turn on your camera and we can just all look at each other for a moment. I love this part. Hi, everybody. So good to see all of your faces. Or your names. All right, why don't we sit up nice and tall and dignified and place our hands on our heart. And from this place of self-love and self-acceptance, move forward with our day and with our week. And let's take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, drop your head down, honoring your practice and honoring each other too. Yay, you are awesome.